What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to tonight's album review. For this one, I've got on tap the second studio album by alternative indie pop rock band Echosmith. This album is entitled Lonely Generation. This is an independent release, and this is their first studio album in over 6 years. Their last one, Talking Dreams, was released on Warner Brothers Records and yielded a very successful pop single in Cool Kids, which, just to get this out of the way, is one of the most boring, generic, derivative pop songs I think I've ever heard. And I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on who these people are, who Echosmith are as people, and as musicians, I'm sure they're lovely people, and they all bring individual talents and skill sets to the table. I just don't see the appeal in a chorus that goes, "I wish that I could be like the cool kids," because all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. It just didn't strike a chord with me. I mean, I'm just one person. George Carlin used to say, if you scratch a cynic, you'll find a disappointed idealist. I feel like that's me. I am a little cynical when it comes to minimalist pop music. But for some reason, that was a huge hit for them, and it was inescapable when it came out. And now, all these years later, they're finally back with another studio album, and I feel like in large swaths of this album, they try to capitalize on whatever mainstream pop sensibilities they might have touched on before and try to take that and run it to its logical conclusion. And does it succeed? It's a hit or miss. So the title track, Lonely Generation, starts off the album with choppy vocal layers on the chorus, just very tired guitar pop. I feel like I've heard it 1,000 times before. I feel like it's not a product of its time. It's very dated. It could have easily come out 10, 15 years ago, and it wouldn't have missed a beat. It's just very minimalistic, and it's choppy production value. Then you have the next track, Diamonds, which for the most part follows the same mold in terms of the composition, almost to the letter, almost to a T. It falls into a lot of the pitfalls of mainstream pop music. Sydney, the lead vocalist, tries the best with what she's given, and she's a very good singer, and she is the highlight of this album through its ups and downs. But it does fall into a lot of the traps that make mainstream pop music just a chore to listen to a lot of the times. Cracked at least tries to be something with some dream pop undertones. Sydney performs it well enough, but the song doesn't explode with any pop or spank or bite to it like it builds up to. It's only about 2.5 minutes long, so it kind of cuts itself short. Shut Up and Kiss Me is a little more earnest with its mainstream pop sensibilities. A nice thrum of synths and bass lines works decently enough, but then we really get to the meat of the album, and then we have probably the best song on here, Stuck. Sydney owns this one. She tries different things. Her voice goes up and down the scales a little bit, hits some nice notes, and despite the relatively crestfallen lyrical content, her vocals do shine, and some fluid musicality does shine through pretty nicely. There's some nice guitar slicks, and it succeeds with more atmospheric intentions, like just like it conjures up reminders of like After Laughter or Paramore's last album, like newer Paramore, but with a more contemporary vocalist, like a vocalist more ready for pop radio and stuff like that. Last Forever sees Sydney's vocals drowned out by bass lines and the choppy production value. It plays like background ambience. It's not really commanding for pop music. It has a nice bridge near the song's end, but overall it doesn't grab your attention. And to allude to what I'm going to get to later on in this review, this, like so many on this album, sounds like a song that you would hear at the grocery store. It's just background noise, and it's trite and boring. Just doesn't grab your attention. It's not a slight on them as musicians or as people. It just the facts on the ground. Everyone Cries is a by-the-books pop ballad. It's key-driven at the intro, falls short of being inspiring or even endearing, and it doesn't hit in any of the right places. It tries to be like uplifting, and it tries very hard to, like, it's screaming pop hit wannabe. It just falls short of that. It's a song you've heard a million times, very by the numbers, and it's just very generic, plain composition. I'm not a fan of it. Scared to Be Alone follows that right up with a jarring shot of Lush and Lilac, like almost kind of like there's a lot more spank and up tempo pop rock musicality there, but after the solemnity of the song that preceded it, it's very jarring and out of left field. Sounds like it's vying for spring break rotation status, despite again some relatively downtrodden lyrical content. It's very upbeat and up tempo in terms of the musicality, and I feel like I would hear it like at a spring break college party with a bunch of dumb frat kids or something. Lost Somebody sees some very heavy vocal layering. It's incredibly up tempo. There is one lyric on here that I did enjoy. It goes, "You paint like Picasso, but you blur every line." And for some reason, I like how, in the same vein as Last Forever, which had a very nice bridge, as I said before. I like how with a couple of songs in here, like it'll, for the most part, it'll be something I'm not really enjoying or vibing with, but there'll be little nuggets of things in there that are sprinkled in that I myself can appreciate. Love You Better is a great song with some classic rock vibes, some danceable rock undertones. Sydney kills it vocally. I had myself nodding my head to it a few times as it went along. Definitely gave it a few replay spins, and it was definitely a late album surge of adrenaline that was definitely needed after the lackluster stuff that had preceded it. Follow You is like if Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour was stripped of any personality or meat or uniqueness to it whatsoever. And then I Don't Want to Lose My Love closes out the album with some heavy bass on the intro. Closes the album on a positive note lyrically, but it sounds like a ripoff of Lover era Taylor Swift from Taylor Swift's last album. And Sydney does sound like a Taylor Swift copy here. And again, the lyrics and composition conjure up reminders of Lover. So coincidence? So overall, what you've got here is minimalist pop with a few songs that break out and shine through. However, a lot of songs do fall into a lot of the more typical pitfalls and conventions of mainstream pop music. A lot of callbacks to better pop music that's already out there, and I don't know, it's very by the books in a lot of ways. I feel like it tries to capitalize on whatever cool kids did right. Somehow it did something right, even though I don't like it myself. Again, maybe that's just me for being too cynical and maybe not having a taste for mainstream pop, but whatever did work, I do feel like in some places they try to run that to the end zone, run it to its logical conclusion, and they just fall short of it. I'm gonna give Lonely Generation a 2.5 out of 5. Not the worst album by any stretch of the imagination. A couple songs here like Stuck and Love You Better are awesome songs. I'm gonna come back to them for sure. But at the end of the day, this really just sounds like music you'd hear in the grocery store, in a mall, a JCPenney or whatever. Songs that will be barely a blip on the radar and then fade off into obscurity, banished to the grocery store where they may forever rest. Kind of like Cheery Up by Gavin DeGraw, even though that's a pretty good song. So 2.5 out of 5. Let me know what you thought about this album in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to smack the like button. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I upload a new video. Until next time, Seamus248 saying so long and see you next time.